Good morning, Canucks Uncensored family. It is a gloomy Sunday out there, but it is not gloomy out here in Canucks Uncensored land, is it, Lynn? No. We have a great Sunday, an exciting Sunday morning for us here at Canucks Uncensored. We have a very, very special guest joining us this morning, don't we, Whit?
Yeah, we do. We are very grateful and excited to have our guest join us in the Canucks Uncensored headquarters this morning, because he is without a doubt one of the biggest inspirations for our podcast, Canucks Uncensored. We are thrilled and honored to be joined today by none other than the one and only Rick Dhaliwal.
Hey guys, happy to be here. Happy to be here. Absolutely 100%.
Yes. Woo.
Awesome, Rick. How are you doing? Thanks so much for taking the time to join us this morning. We can't tell you how much we appreciate it, man.
Yeah, no problem. The only thing that sucks is the rain. It's just, you know what? I don't like the rain. We had 10 days of sunshine, even though it was cold, but you take that any day over the rain.
Absolutely.
I got a dog. I got to walk 4 to 5 times a day, and I tell you, in the rain, it is double tough. Double tough. Double tough.
Double tough.
We all know how much you hate the rain, Rick. Oh, so go ahead. Right. Wait, did you have something here for Rick?
Oh, yeah. Gotta get Rick started here with this question. Rick, when was the last time you used the words finger and society in the same sentence?
You know what? I was just I should have said flip the bird. We've all been flipped the bird. But you got to remember, that's a live show, right? There's no, there's no mulligans. Like in golf, like you can be golfing with 3 guys and you could have scores, keeping scores, this, that. Everyone gets a mulligan on the front 9. On live TV, there is no mulligans. Like, it is what you say. It is, I should have said, we've all been flipped the bird sitting in the car. And of course, I said fingered, and that clip just took off. And I never get help from Donnie or Ryan when I screw up like that. And they just make it worse. And I dug myself a hole deeper and deeper and deeper.
You definitely, when you're on a show with Don Taylor, you got to expect that, right?
Well, Don's the key, right? He's the legend on television. Like I've done 32 years in radio and the last 4 in television. I was never a TV guy. I was always a radio guy. And it was a real big challenge for me because of my love for radio. And, I started back in 1989, but it was always radio. And radio's been a big part of my life. But when 1040 folded, Chet called Donnie, right? And that's the guy that should have been called, the legend in television, right? And Donnie called me, and it kind of got the ball rolling. I'm still not 100% super confident on television because I did 32 years in a row on radio. But it takes time when you switch over like that. It's a real tough thing to do. Radio's easy. Like, there's no camera. You can wear shorts. You can have more shits and giggles in radio than television. But it was a big, big adjustment for me, big time. But Don is the guy that's kind of, for me and Ryan, made the transition a whole lot easier. He's the guy. He's the guy for that show.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Being on TV for that long, he's got used to it. But Rick, I gotta say, you have developed a face for TV now.
Yeah. Well, I had a face for radio, but you know what? TV's hard. It's 10 times harder than radio. Radio is easy. Like, you walk in, there's no cameras. You can do anything. You can do anything you want. You can wear anything you want. There's no, with commercial breaks, it's all different, right? But television is a whole totally different animal. Totally.
Absolutely. Yes. Well, Rick, we want to let you know that the Donnie and Dhali podcast is certainly one of our biggest inspirations to starting our own podcast, okay, which is appropriately named Canucks Uncensored, because you and Donnie are certainly the pioneers of being the unfiltered voices of Vancouver Canucks fans. Now, the first thing we want to know is, how does it feel? Well, you kind of already told us. How does it feel to be released from the shackles of mainstream radio after those 2 years that you went through? Of those years that you went through, what happened at the Funny Station all those years ago, and how you guys were so unceremoniously let go. We all remember that. But of course,
well, I still think about that. Radio is having a tough go in this country. Like AM radio is having a real tough go. And TV's having a tough go because of streaming. Newspapers are having a tough go because everything's in your cell phone. Look, I grew up in the 80s here, went to New West, NWSS. We grew up on CKNW. We grew up on the Vancouver Province and Sun Sports. And, we grew up on Sports Page. And I grew up actually before Sports Page. There was, John McKeechee, Barry Houlihan, and Bernie Pascal. Like, I'm a TV, radio, newspaper guy. I'm an old-fashioned guy. I got a real big problem with, social media. I still haven't, and I already, Twitter's a vicious animal at times. I'm not the biggest fan of Twitter because there's so many shit disturbers on it. But the majority of Canuck fans just go to Twitter. They get their news and they go, right? They're really good. But there's an element to Twitter where it's not governed properly and you can say and do anything you want. I have a tough time with that. They're like, in our radio, TV, newspapers, we have the CRTC, which is the governing, body for radio, TV, newspapers in Canada, right? You can't just do anything you want. Yet Twitter, you can literally do anything you want. There's no accountability, right? No. And
that's true.
People get into your DMs and it's a tough thing sometimes, not all the time, sometimes. But I'm a radio, TV, newspaper guy, right? I'm old-fashioned. I've had a tough time adjusting to social media. There's some new vehicles don't even have AM radio in the cars anymore. Right?
Yes, I noticed that.
I don't like that.
And so I'm having a tough time with that. I urge people to, keep reading newspapers, radio, TV. That's what I grew up with, right? And in the 80s and late 70s, and that's what listening to J.P. McConnell and Neil McRae, and, and my buddies, Brooke Ward, Lee Powell. It was tough to get into radio. Like, it was a tough thing to get into CKNW. You had to be really, really good, right? And now radio's changing. It's shoestring budgets, and it's not necessarily, as hard to get into major market as it was for us way back when, right? So
absolutely.
It's challenging. There's major challenges in this country for radio, TV, and newspapers, big time.
So people like have podcasts like us, right? Well, with the internet and things like that, it makes it more acceptable and makes it more reachable for people to have their voices heard, right? So I understand why it's being tough for radio, but do you think with the internet and with YouTube and things like that, do you think it's a positive space for fans, or is it a negative space?
Well, you look at our Twitter account for Donnie and Dhali. You look at our YouTube. When I run into people and when I ask them, I go, "How do you get Donnie and Dhali?" Well, a lot of them say YouTube. Like they'll go to YouTube for the clips. And it's usually the young kids who go grab our clips off of YouTube or the podcast. Our older audience, our audience that watches live is usually older, right?
Yes, definitely.
It's usually retired people who, hey, look at these idiots on TV. Let's give them a chance. But our younger audience is accessing our show through podcast and YouTube. So I do understand how big social media is and how companies are now, holding, podcast and YouTube in high regard. I'm now starting to understand, because it's the young people who are,
of course,
who are accessing Donnie and Dhali mostly through the podcast and YouTube. So I now get it. I now get it.
Well, I mean, how I personally watch Donnie and Dhali, it's through Spotify or through YouTube. I'll listen to the whole show on Spotify. So I mean, it's no wonder that TV and radio are struggling, because it's a dying thing, right? But
Yeah.
Rick, thanks for sharing like that. And what our favorite thing about you and Dhali's show is how unapologetic you guys are to call out the truth about the team.
Yeah.
And more importantly, how the fans feel about the Vancouver Canucks right now, which is why we say your show is our biggest inspiration to creating our podcast, the Canucks Uncensored, which brings me to a question, okay? Okay, Rick?
Yeah.
We really like how you guys, you and Don, say whatever you want, and here's a clip of that, okay? And I just want you to tell me a little bit about this, all right? Give me a sec.
Okay.
I'm going to go back to this mushy middle bullshit. People are going to be upset.
Yeah, so that's oops. That's a clip of you and Donnie.
Yeah.
That was the first time I had heard you or Don use the word bullshit on TV.
Yeah.
so can you tell me? Did you know Donnie was going to pull that, or
no?
Were you prepared for that?
No. Let me tell you something about our show. We get in there.
Yes.
We get in there at 8:00. And 2 hours before, we don't say, hey, I'm going to say bullshit. We do not rehearse. Hey, let's say bullshit just to get views. We don't do that.
Yeah.
That was from his heart. That was from his heart. And look, Donnie's a pro. He's pro rebuild, and he wants to rebuild.
Yes.
I wasn't there because these guys did not announce a rebuild in August. They were going after Kadri and Zaka in November. This was never supposed to be in 32nd place. This whole season was about win for Quinn, re-sign Quinn on July 1st. So I keep saying to Donnie, they were supposed to win this year, not rebuild, which is the truth. But we don't rehearse our comedy bits. We don't even sit there and go, let's do a comedy bit today. Everything is natural, organic. And
love it.
Him saying bullshit is natural, organic. We talk about the subjects that we're going to discuss. But I may have said something for Donnie to trigger Donnie to say bullshit. I may have said something to him, and he would have said, hey, I'm tired of the bullshit mushy middle. We do not sit there before the show and say, hey, let me say bullshit today to get people going. That's not the way we work. 100% of that show is organic. It's not, we don't rehearse, fingers, society. We don't rehearse bullshit. That is organic, and it has to be organic. The moment you start saying, oh, let's say bullshit for clicks, it's not going to work. It's not going to work.
Totally.
We don't go into work and say, let's get clicks. We go into work and say, what are the subjects today? And you know what? Okay, here's the subjects we're going to hit today. Let's go hit them. And whatever comes out is organic. It is not planned.
Yeah. That's so great to hear, Rick. Thank you for telling us that, because like I said, the one thing that we really appreciate about you guys' show is how honest and organic you guys are. And that just showed me, you telling me that just shows me how much passion Don has for this team and how much he was getting sick of what is going on. And you know what? Him saying bullshit on the air just echoes a lot of what a lot of Canuck fans are feeling. And I feel it hit the nail on the head. And you know what? So that's why you guys are our biggest inspiration for our podcast. We're called Uncensored because we just want to say what we feel about this team. And this team just loves to take us on roller coaster rides, doesn't it?
Well, the show has to be organic. It has to be.
Absolutely.
We people don't realize, like, we do get a lot of, it's only a 2-hour show. Well, I call bullshit on that. We get in there at 8:00. We get off at 12, and we start preparing for the next day. I got to go home. I got to work on stories. I got to text agents. And then if the Canucks play, that's the 6 hour. That's 6 hours to just prep, and then post game. It is not a 2-hour day. Like, it is not. The one thing that Donnie and I do not do is cheat in preparation. You can't cheat. the moment you cheat, you're doing a disfavor. You're discrediting your audience, because I have to go home and I got to work the phones. I got stories I got to work. I got agents I got to text. There's other teams I got to text. I gotta know. Like the night that I tweeted, Dan Milstein's got permission to help facilitate in a Vander Kane trade. Well, that tweet was 7 o'clock at nighttime. So what am I doing? Why am I tweeting that at 7? Because I was working on that story for a few days, and I finally got permission to use it. So it happened at 7 o'clock at nighttime. We don't stop. The prep for Donnie and Dhali never stops. It's 7 days a week.
Absolutely.
I got up this morning and I've already texted, 4 to 5 agents, what's going on? It's 7 days a week prep. We don't cheat on effort. And
absolutely.
That one I will tell you right now is we do not cheat on effort when it comes for the show.
Well, we can definitely see that, Rick.
Yes.
You guys put on a great show day in and day out. Me and Whit barely do a show once a week, and we find it hard to make sure we have good enough stuff. But to do a show every day, man, can you imagine?
Yeah.
Right. So we understand the effort and the amount of work it goes into put on a great show that you guys do, Rick.
Yeah,
absolutely.
A lot of behind the scenes stuff, man.
Before we do have some questions for you about the Vancouver Canucks, of course, Rick. But please tell us a little bit about what it's been like to work with Don Taylor, and when you're you and Donnie's relationship, how did it come about, and what's it like working with him?
I got to Vancouver in 1996 after, 4 years in Fort St. John, 1 in Wetaskiwin, Alberta, Prince George, Powell River. I did the circuit. I get to Vancouver in 96, 97. And, so Donnie, I would see Donnie at BC Lions practices. And then one day I got a call from Don, and he was going to take over from Dan Russell at CKNW, and he wanted me to be his producer. And
really?
Yeah, so I went over to NW. Donnie and I were there for a short time, but that's how we kind of connected. And then from then on, we've kind of been really good friends. And so that was the connection. Was he got a job he left Sports Page for NW to replace Russell. And then I went over as his producer, and we've been really good friends ever since. But, he's the guy, right? He's the guy. Yeah. He's in his 4th decade. I'm in my 3rd decade. We got longevity. You can't have longevity unless you love what you do. And
absolutely,
you got to love what you do, because if you don't love what you do, right now, I got a tough time telling kids to go into broadcasting because, mainstream media is hurting right now. I see these kids go to school, and some kids call me and ask me, should I take broadcasting? I don't tell them not to, but I'm also very honest with them. You got to be young if you're going to get into this, because if it doesn't work out, then you'll still have plenty of time to shift. But, I am honest with a lot of kids. I don't tell them not to take it, but I do tell them, the pitfalls of, and the one thing Donnie and I believe in is we got to give back, because, somebody helped us. Like I can list everybody that's helped me, and it will be a long list. Nobody gets anywhere in life without help. And
for sure.
We have to help back. So if any kid wants help, I make sure I take the time to help them, and that because we got to do that. But Donnie's just a legend. He knows television. Yeah. He's one of very few guys that got he's got the knowledge, the wherewithal to do TV, radio, and newspapers, because he used to write an article for the province many years ago as well. But not many can do TV and radio. It's a really hard thing to do. And he's one guy that can do it because of his knowledge, his personality. His memory is great. He can tell you who wore number 7, Pitt Martin, in the 70s for the Canucks. He can tell you Pitt Martin's helmet was different than everybody else. I can go, I go to about 1975 on. I'm pretty good with Canucks. Like Ron Settlbar, Don Lever, all those guys. I'm pretty good with those guys. I remember Jerry Taggy and the cardiac kids in the late 70s for the BC Lions. Like, we go back, and that's the other thing we pride ourselves in is, and not, I don't see kids necessarily, but I don't blame them. But Donnie and I take pride in the athletes in the 70s and 80s and the Whitecaps, Lions, and Canucks. And I don't see that anymore because we got a new wave of kids in our industry, and they just don't care about the old days, and they just don't care about, Nick Hebler, and how great he was. Nick's a good pal, and he was one of the best defensive linemen for the BC. I grew up with Nick Hebler. Shmuel Gradine Fraser. I know I talk about it all the time, but Donnie and I make sure, we do not forget those guys. It's why you have history books. It's why you have history books in libraries. It's why teams have alumni, so they don't forget those guys. I forgot Stan Schmeel's birthday on Wednesday because I do birthdays. It was just because I didn't go all the way down on the page that I was looking at birthdays. But a couple of people reached out to Stan and said, "Hey, Dhaliwal forgot your birthday," and Stan sent me a text. Stan sent me a text, and I just said, "Oh man, I apologize. I screwed up." And he's just, "Don't worry about it." He was just laughing. But we don't forget. We don't forget those guys. We don't forget those guys.
You and Stan Schmeel are on a texting basis. That's awesome.
Yes.
Oh, a lot of guys back then.
Yeah.
I mean, Hebler is a good pal of mine. Schmeel, Darcy Rhoda. Whenever I see him, Darcy and I, or Don and I and Ryan ran into Darcy Rhoda. We were having a meeting at White Spot, and Don and I are like, "Oh my God, it's Darcy!" And Henderson in the back didn't even give. He's like, "What the hell is going on here?" He didn't have
Henderson didn't know who he was.
Yeah.
Well,
my goodness.
But he's not as excited as Don and I. I mean, Darcy Rhoda was a member of the '82 team, and he
of course.
I grew up with Darcy Rhoda, so it means more to us than it would be to him, anyways. He wasn't even born then.
Of course.
But that's the other thing that we take pride in is remembering those teams of the 70s and 80s.
Oh, for sure. I mean, you know what, Rick? It's great that you and Don have such good memories of all that. And you know what? We're younger fans too. We try to know as much as we can about the Canucks, but because we love the Canucks so much.
Yeah.
But Rick, we do have some questions about the Canucks that we want to get your opinion on, and so I'm sure our viewers want to hear. So wait, go ahead. You have one here. Go ahead.
Yeah. So you mentioned that the Canucks missed Zadorov and Ian Cole a lot last year. But which vets do you think should or would stay for this rebuild? Kind of like on the Zadorov or Cole leadership that was missing.
Well, it wasn't just Cole; it was Zadorov too. I mean, they missed both of them, Yeah. And Zadorov, if Rick Tocchet would have stayed that spring, he left. He was going to get more leadership because Tocchet really missed Zadorov and Cole as leaders. There just wasn't enough leadership in that dressing room, and Tocchet was going to target leadership on July 1st, and so that's why I brought up Ian Cole. Look, you see a lot of young kids on the Canucks, and they lost a guy when they traded Sherwood. They lost a guy that took Braden Coots under his wing at camp, right? A lot of the young guys looked up to Sherwood. In a rebuild, you can't just have 21 young guys. You got to have veterans who show them, like Don and I say it all the time. When Trevor Linden started as an 18-year-old, he had Harold Snepps, and then Pat Quinn made a real good trade to get Ryan Walter. You need these kids to have good role models on and off the ice. That's why, I brought Ian Cole up. Cole went to Utah. He got another contract for the same reason. They got a lot of young kids there. But Ian Cole is just a really good on and off the ice leader. He's a good pro. Now I see everybody wants Garland gone. So you lost a culture guy in Sherwood, and Garland's a culture guy too. Because he works his ass off, and Garland took a little bit more of a leadership role with the young guys this year. So look, you can't have enough leadership on a team, and you just can't. And sometimes when you look at the Canucks issues, one of them is that, the core when they were young just didn't have enough leaders around the core. You got it. These young kids like Willander and Lekera-Mackey, all these guys, you want good veterans around them, and
For sure.
Guys like the Sedin twins who are good pros on and off the ice. You can't have enough of those guys, those teachers, to teach the young kids to get them through the rebuild and the bad years, because there's going to be some bad years coming up.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of bad years coming up, Rick, for sure. And you know what? This is a question that we ask everyone who we talk to. And, I know that Donnie's on the rebuild train right now. You said that you're slowly on the rebuild train. So how are you, Rick Dhaliwal, watching the Vancouver Canucks right now? Are you supportive of Team Tank?
Well, you have no choice. It is what it is. You have no choice. This wasn't supposed to be a tank year. They weren't supposed to be in 30 seconds. It was like I told you, they were going after Zaka and Kadri in November. What the hell does that tell you? That tells you that they didn't want to finish in 30 seconds. They wanted to win, and they wanted to win for Quinn so they could re-sign him. It didn't happen. You have no choice. Whether you're Team Tank or not, this is the way. Look, I saw Tom Willander last night, do some pretty damn good things. He's got 4 points last 5 games. I saw Lekera-Mackey last night score a beautiful goal, nice pass from Ogren. But then I saw Lekera-Mackey get 1 shift in the last 10 minutes, no shifts in overtime.
Yeah.
You're in 32nd place. If you can't play that kid in overtime when you're in 32nd place, when are you going to play him? He's got a lethal shot. All of his goals, the majority of Lekera-Mackey's goals are of the highlight variety. Yes, he's got to figure out the rest of his game. Yes, he's got to be better defensively. But why would you not give a guy like that and that lethal shot more time and space in overtime, even 1 or 2 shifts? Insulate him with good defensive players out there if you're worried about defense. Make sure you have a stay-at-home defenseman out there with him in overtime. But my goodness, that's when you wonder, if you can't play Lekera-Mackey in overtime when you're in 32nd place, when are you going to play him in overtime? And yes, his overall game needs to be better. We all know that. That's why he was in Abbotsford. Yeah. He's got to he's got to get stronger. He's got to win more puck battles. He's got to do all that stuff, better defensively. We get it. But he's also got an incredibly lethal shot. When you got more time and space in overtime, that he's going to have more ability and time to release that shot. But anyways, play the young kids. If you can't play them when you're in 32nd place, when the heck are you going to play them?
Exactly. Exactly, Rick. Well, we're here, us two, we're definitely cheering for losses right now, but we want them we want them to lose, but we don't want them to get, completely shellacked and get their ass kicked. We want them to have competitive games, have the young kids playing a lot, but still losing the game at the end of the day.
Yeah, well, you know what? They don't have elite young talent. And this year they're going to get it. They'll have a top 3 pick, whether it's 1, 2, or 3. They can go get Gavin McKenna if they want. And, they just don't have elite talent because they haven't picked in the top 10 since 2019. That was Podkolzin, and they picked him over the guy in Cole Caulfield who's got 32 goals. But they don't have elite talent. And the 2024 draft traded picks 1, 2, 3. They traded the first or second pick 5 years in a row. They don't have elite talent. Now it's time to go and get elite talent. They got 4 picks in the first 2 rounds. They are so void of elite talent in the system. So at least now, if you finish 32nd this year, you finish 32nd next year, you could really stock the cupboards with elite talent. They don't have it because they've traded so many first-round picks. The last time they picked in the top 10 and did anything was Pettersson and Hughes. And you know what? Guess what? One's gone and the other one's not. He's not half the player he used to be. So, look.
Definitely.
The last 7 drafts have not been good, guys. And so now they have an opportunity to put elite talent in the cupboards for the first time since Hughes and Pettersson.
Yes.
And doesn't that feel good, Rick? Yes.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
speaking of the draft, so we're going to finish in hopefully last place. What is about the draft that you wanted to ask, Whit? Yeah.
So I know the draft board changes all the time, but if you had to name your top three, would it be something like McKenna, Stenberg, Verhoff, like on a Canucks board? Just things change all the time.
It changes all the time, but the top three, no question, are McKenna, Stenberg, and Verhoff. Canucks met with Verhoff a couple of weeks ago. They're keeping an eye on McKenna and Stenberg. McKenna's been on fire since the World Juniors, and look, they need. It's too. What sucks is there's no centerman in the top three. Caleb Malhotra might go fourth. Tynan Lawrence at Boston University is a really good centerman. Vigio Bjork is a good centerman. They need centermen. So, but unfortunately, if you're gonna pick in the top three, you gotta take best talent. And you know, maybe the top centerman isn't until 4 or 5 or 6 or whatever. But they're so void of elite talent. You can't give up on. You can't not take McKenna because you're taking a centerman, and the centerman might not be till the 5th or 6th pick, right? So just take the best talent available with the top 3 picks, I think.
Well, so Rick, if we are number one, if we get number 1 pick that we've never had before, who of those 3 players are you taking number 1?
Well, and see, that's where, look, I'm not an expert on those 3. I don't watch them every day. So it's impossible for us to say who should. That's why they have scouts.
Yeah.
We can watch highlights. Back in the 80s, we didn't even have highlights of draft picks. It was just, you pick the player and then you go, you do your research on them. And we didn't have Google and we didn't have Twitter, putting out photos and videos of these guys 24/7. So it's impossible for me. We know McKenna, what he did at Medicine Hat as a 15-year-old. That's unheard of. We know Stenberg's good because he's posting big numbers in the top Swedish league. We know Verhoff is 6'4", 220. He's, as a 17, 18-year-old, he is posting big numbers for a defenseman in the NCAA. That's hard to do, to go from the dub to the NCAA and be a difference maker. They're all good. I don't think you can lose with either one of them. But for me to sit here and tell you who's the best, I'm not watching them on a. That's why they have scouts following these 3 players nonstop 7 days a week.
Totally. Yeah. Totally. Well, Rick, we're coming up on 32 minutes. How are we doing for time? Do we have a little bit more? Can we take some questions from the audience, or how do you feeling?
I'll take a couple from the audience.
Awesome. Well, we have people in the chat. Guys, if you have questions for Rick Dhaliwal, please put them in the chat right now. He's giving us some more time here. That's amazing. So, guys, go ahead. But Whit, you have another one before we look for one from the audience?
Yeah. Other than Kane, I was just talking about other than the pending free agents, do you think Garland, which of Garland or DeBrusk is more likely if they had to pick a vet to go? Which one's more likely, would you say?
It's all, they got contracts. They got Garland's got a long-term deal kicking in. He's got no trade protection now. The trade protection kicks in on July 1st. DeBrusk hasn't asked for a trade yet. I mean, he hasn't. What is it? Wednesday is the roster freeze for the Olympics. Yeah. When they come out of the roster freeze, they're going to have 12 days, unless they make a trade today, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. They're going to have their window to make trades is shortening every day. It's basically 15 days now, but it also tells you, like, the market for the trades is going to get crazy because Panarin's on there. A lot of teams are paying attention to him. If Toronto becomes the seller, Bobby McCann is a forward that a ton of teams are going to want to. Like, the Canucks have been trying to make trades since they sent out the memo 9 weeks ago. Like 9 weeks ago, and 9 weeks ago, there were not many sellers. Well, when they come out of the break, there's going to be a ton of sellers. So they're now going to be in a very, very, very different marketplace. And you know what? Nashville, do they sell a little bit? All teams that, are going to know after the Olympic break, are we selling or not? There was a time there when Canucks were the only sellers, but they didn't make a ton of moves. And I'll tell you, Sherwood, his agents had to get in there and tell these guys, like, what are you doing? You know, you're not getting the first. Move them. And, you know, they did. So, look, you know, Kane is DeBrusque and all these guys. Look, they look, you know, everybody's being listened to. The Canucks are getting calls and everybody, but a lot of them have trade protection, right? Most of them have trade protection, and they can take their time and talk to their agents and stuff like that. But a lot of them are on a 32nd place team. A lot of them are not posting big numbers this year. A lot of their value is not as great as it would be if they were, say, the 16th or 17th or 18th or 19th best team, right? A lot of guys, their numbers are way down, you know, so you know, you're not getting, and, you know, look at Sherwood. They thought they'd get a first. They got 2 seconds, which is great value, right? But that was the one guy that actually had value. He was leading the team in goals, you know, and all the other guys are having off years. So maybe the Canucks are not getting what they want. A lot of them have trade protection. It's not as easy as everybody thinks. Just make a whack of trades in like 10 minutes. Can't do that.
Yeah. Well, these are, Rick, these are certainly dark days for the Vancouver Canucks right now. You've seen all the dark days for the Vancouver Canucks. So the rebuild's going to take a few years. It's going to be a few years of losing, okay? Rick, how many years do you think before we make the playoffs again? And do you think this is the darkest time in Canucks history?
I don't think so. I was here in the 80s going to games with 8,000 people, Quebec Nordiques.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think it's the darkest time. The John McCaw, Messier era was dark. This is dark too because you're in 32nd. But Buffalo's in year 14. Detroit's in year 9. You know, Arizona,
look at Buffalo now.
Arizona, Utah went through hell. You know, Florida went through hell. You know, there's so many teams that, you know, so many, because of Buffalo, so many teams are afraid to go into rebuilds, right? They don't want to be stuck for 14 years. You know, bad GMs, bad coaches, bad development teams. I don't know. You're all guessing. You can't sit here and tell me anybody knows how long the rebuild's going to be. You got, nobody. It could be 5 years. It could be 9. It could be 10. Who knows? Nobody knows. But guys, I got an agent texting me right now. So listen, if I can, I got to get back to him because I know what he's texting about. So I got to get going here. So listen, it was a pleasure to come on the show. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate you guys and your support of the Donnie and Dhali show. And everybody that, you know, listens or follows, I appreciate them all because without loyal viewers, we're nothing. And our industry is kind of in the toilet. So it's guys like you that keep it alive. So I want to thank you guys for absolutely being there and supporting the show, because without that, we're absolutely nothing.
Absolutely, Rick. Well, thank you so much for being on our show. We really appreciate your time and just being here with us. And we will always support the Donnie and Dhali show. You guys are our biggest inspirations. So keep up the great work with you and Donnie. Okay. But Rick, thanks so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. Get what you need to do, and we'll see you on the show. And hopefully we can get you on our show again sometime soon.
All right, guys. Take care and have a great day.
Thank you, Rick.
Thanks, Rick. Have a great day.
Guys. I just got to get to this agent. Talk to you later, bud.
Perfect. Have a good one. Well, guys, that was Rick Dhaliwal of the Donnie and Dhali podcast. Man, what a pleasure that was.
My gosh. Like that raw, organic info, how he thinks, how Donnie thinks, all the behind the scenes stuff. You heard it firsthand. It's really refreshing to hear it. I know a lot of people probably wanted Canuck questions after Canuck question, but that whole bit, that beginning, I learned so much about the industry there. Wealth of knowledge is just as important, right, as the Canucks info.
Absolutely. Well, and he really hammered that the mainstream media is dying, guys, right? So, and you know what, we got to adapt. Him and Donnie have certainly adapted. Being on a podcast, being on YouTube, and you know what, guys, Donnie and Donnie are definitely our inspirations, guys who are in this chat. I encourage you, us Canucks fans, hey, we got to get our voices heard, guys, okay? We love doing this. We love being on YouTube and putting out content, but what we love most about it is to be able to say what we want about the Vancouver Canucks. So, any of you guys who are out there in our chat or watching our video and just saw Rick Dhaliwal on our show, I hope that inspires you guys to start your own YouTube channel and start putting out your voices about the Vancouver Canucks or whatever it is that you're passionate about.
Or go on a show and chime in.
Exactly.
Make a comment.
Make a comment. We have open houses on our shows, on our podcast here. So if you guys ever want a chance to air your grievances or just, hey, when the Canucks start winning and you want to start cheering about the Canucks on a platform, you guys are welcome to do it here at Canucks Uncensored. Okay, so thanks you guys for joining us here on this great Sunday morning to be with Rick Dhaliwal with us. Thanks you guys, everyone in the comments who have put in your input. But wait. Any last words about having Donnie on today before we sign off?
Oh, man. That wealth of knowledge.
Yeah.
I'm actually curious right now as to what agent it is.
Oh, yes.
If it was like a Evander Kane type of agent type of question, but we couldn't ask it, but
yeah.
We'll find out.
Exactly. Well, hopefully we'll have Rick on again, okay? At some point. He sounds like he's a great guy and he likes to hang out with us. So
and give back.
Yes, and give back. Still pinching myself here. We just had Rick Dhaliwal on, right?
Got some goosebumps.
Yeah, totally. Anyways, guys, so what we have coming up for Canucks Uncensored, we do our weekly podcast. We try to do it weekly, but we're also being joined on our show coming up tomorrow. Kyle Bawan from Locked On Canucks is going to be joining us in the Canucks Uncensored headquarters, doing a collaboration with us. So we're looking forward to sitting down with Kyle tomorrow to watch the game and just shoot the shit with Kyle because he has a great podcast as well. Go check him out, Locked On Canucks, Kyle Bawan. Yes. And he's going to be on our show tomorrow. But if you haven't yet, guys, please give us a like and subscribe. And also follow us on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, all of the platforms, X, Facebook. Give us a shout there. Hanja, love Kyle. Should be fun. It's going to be fun seeing him. But yes, this is Canucks Uncensored, your number one destination for unfiltered, raw, honest, candid, non-mainstream, and uncensored Canucks commentary. We'll see you guys next time.